Welcome to the Shepherd Mills, Inc. From alpaca to yak, the Shepherd's Mill creates an exquisite yarns and fabrics from the nation's finest natural fibers. If you desire marketable product from your own fiber-producing animals, artfully conscious created interior design or fashion products, or U.S.-sourced, U.S.-produced netting, weaving, or crochet yarn and hand spinners roving and other fine fiber arts supplies, we're here to help. If you have fiber to process at the Shepherd Mill, our goal is to provide you with a quality finished product that we will be happy using and proud to sell. As a producer, you may know exactly what you want. If so, we ask a few questions and do our best to meet your specifications.
What sets the Purina goat mineral and the Purina wind and rain sheep mineral apart from other minerals that are on the market is because they are designed by folks that are in the business. We work very hard at the Purina Animal Nutrition Center in Gray Summit, Missouri to maximize efficiency, to increase the number of lambs that we have on the ground, and I know the goat herds that we work with are on the same role as us. The best way for producers to ensure that they don't have a mineral deficiency is to supply a quality mineral. That's where we have worked so diligently on the Purina goat mineral and also the wind and rain sheep mineral to provide myself and other producers an opportunity to decrease problems. From the reproductive standpoint, vitamins and minerals play a huge role in sheep and goat. That's where we have found the biggest contribution to our operation in terms of AI and embryo and then conception on first-time service. So there's a distinct role that the minerals play in repro for us. That's what makes us unique and different, is because we're creating products that work for us.
Stay Tough Superior Fencing Products presents its fence test video. During this video, you'll witness the strength and resilience of a Stay Tough fixed knot fence compared to a standard hinge joint fence, as both are hit by a full-size truck. Stay Tough fence is made of high tensile wire that's 3 times stronger than low tensile wire and will stretch less than 1%. Low tensile wire will stretch more than 10%. Both fences were installed under identical circumstances and using the same tooling and fence design. Let's see the results. Stay Tough Fence comes with a 10-year written limited warranty. Contact us at 1-888-223-8322 or visit our website to find a dealer near you. Stay Tough Superior Fencing Products. Stay strong, stay tight, stay tough.
Although 2020 has been challenging for us all, it has also given us many reasons to be optimistic about the future of the American lamb industry. We are seeing significant increase in lamb consumption from both existing and new consumers, and like all of you in this essential industry, the employee owners at Superior Farms are working around the clock to meet the high demand for our products. And while supermarkets have seen a surge in the demand for lamb, our food service partners are finding creative new solutions to keep their businesses alive. Superior Farms is working with these loyal American lamb customers to develop new strategies and tactics to help them succeed in the months and years to come. Our goal remains to deliver a consistently great eating experience at a sustainable price for consumers and producers alike. Superior Farms is committed to working with every sector of the U.S. sheep industry to become more efficient and profitable, and we look forward to a safe and prosperous new year for all.
Making Kansas a better place to live and work has been our goal for over 100 years. It's a responsibility we don't take lightly.
Solids or sediment?
365 meters.
365 meters.
K-State Research and Extension serves our rural and urban neighbors by helping you adapt to new technologies, protect our environment, improve nutrition and food safety, and grow the next generation of leaders.
And my world. And my world.
We help farmers and ranchers adopt new tools that improve profitability in a rapidly changing marketplace.
That went into it, going to help some people.
We prepare and inspire leaders to take on challenges with confidence, be responsible, and give back.
Thank you very much. It will be a great help.
I think K-State Extension is a marvelous partner.
We bring people together to complement each other's unique strengths and make communities more vibrant and successful. We are Kansas State University, in every county, working shoulder to shoulder with organizations, local leaders, and you to help our state grow and thrive. We are K-State Research and Extension.
Okay, I guess we're about ready to get ready again, and I think Kurt Chelberg from, and I know I'm going to say it wrong, TPRA, he can correct me, is on, and he's going to start off the facilities part of it. So Kurt, you're ready?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, you weren't too far off. It's Tapari is how we pronounce it. So you were pretty close. All right. Well, let's just kick this off by giving a bit of background, I suppose. Some of you may have never heard of Tapari before. It's a New Zealand-based company, as the name definitely gives the flavor of where they're from. It actually means the hill or the bluff in the native Maori language over there, and that's where the company was founded, on a ranch with that name over in New Zealand. So that's where the name comes from. But the pictures you see there, the second in from the left, that's the manufacturing facility. They're right in a coastal community called Oamaru in the South Island of New Zealand. And the far right photo is one of their manufacturing areas. In New Zealand, they manufacture a full range of the sheep handling equipment, as well as cattle handling equipment, cattle chutes, cattle holding pens, and load out facilities. Here in the US, we're pretty much focused on the sheep handling equipment and the cattle scale systems. We've had a physical presence here in the US now for about 4 years. So we're very, very excited with the potential in this market, and very glad for this opportunity to share a little bit about who we are with the audience here today. Why don't we move on to the next slide there, Dwayne? So Racewell is a brand that Tapari acquired about 12 years ago. Some of you may have heard the name going back prior to that. They did ship equipment directly to the US from Racewell themselves. There's plenty of old pieces of equipment. They're actually green in color. You may have seen them some other producer's facility, or perhaps you even have one yourself. But what it is it's a line of automated sheep handling equipment for weighing and handling sheep. They're as simple as weighing and sorting, or the handler style gives very good access to nearly all points of the animal, and is widely used for you know, everything from dosing to crutching to mouth work to checking feet to you name it. So all of it can be as automated or as manual as the user desires, depending on the situation. And as that third bullet point says, they're pneumatically powered with compressed air, and works very well with like a portable compressor. A lot of you guys would have one on your trucks or in your facilities there that would run these machines. They do connect to several different scale systems if you have an existing scale that you want to use already, or we've got several options ourselves. We can go ahead and move on. And one more. All right. So the first model here is our sheep handler, which we call our HD series. There's the HD 3, 4, or 6, and that refers to the number of sorting gates that the machine would have on it. So this machine is kind of the flagship piece of equipment for the Racewell brand, and it works by clamping and holding the animal. It's kind of a combination of a hold and like a friction hold on the animal. It uses a compressed air cylinder on the back side of the clamping wall there to bring the wall forward and clamp the animal. You'll see in that picture in the upper top right hand corner there that there's two little black circles and two little blue circles kind of right on the body of the sheep there, and those are the electronic eyes that detect the presence of the animal. When the animal, they have a range of about 8 inches or so, and as soon as the animal comes into that electronic eye, the blue eyes actually initiate the entry gate closing behind the animal, and then at the moment that either blue eye is covered and either black eye is covered at the same time, that clamps the animal. And the reason they're kind of on that metal rail there is they're magnetic and repositionable, so that depending on what you're doing with the animal, you can either set it up so that it's catching the animals right in the middle, can be catching them up towards the front, can be catching them up towards the back, you know, depending on what type of process you're doing with the animals that day. So just for example, if you were doing drenching the animals, you would tend to catch them more towards the front, so you have better access to the head. And if you were crutching or checking udders or whatever you were doing, you could catch them further back and have better access to the back end of the animal. Or you can certainly catch them right in the middle to have the best access to all points. The auto sorting function, obviously, so the clamping wall area is resting on load bars, and the moment the animal is clamped, the weighing process starts. As soon as it locks onto a weight, which typically takes about 2 seconds, then the sorting gates will set themselves to whatever direction you have entered into the scale system for the animal to be sorted off into another pen. With our T30 system, our T30 scale system, we can actually do multi-criteria sorting. So you can do a combination of any two things. So you could sort by, let's say you're doing spring lambs and you're wanting to sort by the sex of the animal as well as the weight. You can input that so that you're sorting off ram lambs this way and that way by their weights, and you could sort ewe lambs off this way and that way by their weights. So instead of having to do multiple passes sorting off the different animals and then rerunning them through for the different weights, you do it all in one run. I think that pretty much covers that particular machine. I guess the only other thing we could mention in that particular slide is that we've got two different configurations of the Racewell sitting there. The one on the top is on a trailer frame, and that trailer frame comes with a fold-down working platform, which you see there. So a lot of guys here in the Midwest or further west will use a trailer system, and they'll haul it between farm locations, and that can be set down anywhere, and that trailer frame provides a nice rigid working platform. You don't have to worry about bumpy ground or just set it down and off you go. The one below it is more of a conventional setup for inside of a barn somewhere, where it would be bolted to the floor, and you would need a nice level surface there, but just kind of highlights the two different configurations for that particular machine. So the key features of this machine, we've got an adjustable lead up raceway up the back of the machine. So that's got about 5 different positions on either wall. So it's just a little pull pin, and you can move those walls in really tight, or you can move them out depending on the size of the sheep that you're running. And probably says it here somewhere, the clamp wall is also adjustable, again, depending on the size of the sheep that you're running. So typically what we find is that when you're running ewes and lambs through, you can pretty much set it up into a middle setting and everything will flow fine. It's more when you have extra big rams coming through, or you've ran some rams through and now you're running some lambs through, and your next time that adjustability really comes in handy. But just typically speaking, when you're running sheep through, it's not like you're having to adjust it all the time, but there's just that adjustability is there when you're running different groups through. That picture in the upper right hand kind of gives you an idea of how that adjustable wall looks. That one isn't at the right side, isn't actually all the way in. It could go another notch or two, and that left side could also do the same thing. So you can see that it can get quite narrow depending on the size of the lambs that you're running through. The auto entry gate, can't really see it too clearly here, but that's what prevents 2 sheep or 2 lambs from getting into the scale platform area. So the moment a lamb or a ewe covers up that blue eye, the gate shuts behind them and prevents the next one from coming in. There's multiple different functions that you can do on that depending on the speed that you're running the sheep and what type of process you're doing, how quickly you want them to be coming through. The scale mount is on the opposing side of the machine, so it's always easy to view no matter where you're at on the handling side of the machine. The control dashboard, those are all hand switches. They're not easily bumped or moved, so it's, you're leaning over, doing whatever you're doing with a sheep, and you don't have to worry about flicking switches on or off just by bending over the machine. They're all directional switches that you need to move with your hands. There is a remote control that comes with these machines. I saw in the video that Dwayne played earlier, that was in our older remote. The new ones are quite a bit larger, and they actually run all functions of the machine. So in theory, if you were working on your own, you could be pushing sheep up from the back, up the race to the machine, and you could control all machine functions from back there. So if you were just strictly doing a weighing and sorting operation, you could be working the whole group yourself, and you're able to jump in and intervene at any time using the remote. The pressure on the clamp wall is adjustable. So again, depending on the size or the, some breeds are a little more excitable than others and can use a little more pressure to restrain them. And then the last function there is it's a removable cover for the electronic eyes. So you can either set them up and put the cover back on to prevent any animals from coming around and chewing on them when they've been released, if you're releasing them into a pen with you, or more often than not, the cover will be off while pushing flocks through to give you the maximum amount of adjustability. We can go on to the next one. Some of these we've already touched on a bit. That's a better shot of the electronic eyes there in that top left photo. Again, they're magnetic, so they can be positioned anywhere along that track there. There's top ones and bottom ones there to kind of give you the full range of adjustability depending on the size of the animals that you're running through. So again, the blue ones run the entry gate, and then as soon as the blue and a black is covered, that's when it initiates the clamp. There is an integrated EID reader that if you choose to have an EID reader on your race well, that's actually built right into the clamping wall of the machine. So it not only provides a very large capture area, but it's actually a big enough antenna that it doesn't necessarily matter whether your sheep or your lambs are tagged on the left ear or the right ear. It'll pick it up regardless. It's quite a nice feature. It allows you to not have to have a stick reader in your hand and a syringe in the other, and you're juggling equipment as you're handling sheep. So that's a really nice feature to have for those of you that have tags. The side tilt function, that bottom right picture there shows that function being used. That's very nice for those of you that have wool sheep to do crutching or any cleanup work back there. Some people actually use it as well for preg testing to give easier access for that task. And then some people would also use it for footwork, tilt that animal out and give clear access to reach in, grab the back feet or the front feet. The 3, 4, 6-way sorting gates, we've touched on that. They're all pneumatically powered and can be set based on the weight of the animal. And the rubber floor in that picture there just gives the animals nice grip as they're moving through the machine, keeps them sure on their feet and more calm. So that's pretty much it for that. And then sure, go ahead and just click on that video, Dwayne, and we'll just see them in action quickly. Dwayne, I think that's showing on your other screen. Dwayne, I don't know if the others could see that or not. I couldn't see it on my screen. I don't know if it played on a different screen.
I don't know. I played it here. I'm sorry. I guess I thought that it was playing.
Okay, it could very well have. I couldn't see it on mine, but perhaps the others could. We could certainly circulate the videos afterwards too if we can't get them to play properly on here.
Here, I think I can. I'll play it again. I think I can do it from here. I'll have to change, and then we'll have to go back into it.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Dwayne. All right. So we'll jump into the Racewell Auto Sorter then. We call this our DR series. There's the DR3 and the DR5. So there's a 3-way and a 5-way sorter for this particular series. We can go ahead and to the next page there, Dwayne. So the main difference with this machine is this is primarily a weighing and sorting machine. There is a limited amount of access to the animal, but it's going to be really tough to do any sort of vaccinations or treatments or inspections on the animal, as it's more of just a weigh crate configuration. This works in a similar fashion with the electronic eyes that you see on the side there. It's not quite so critical to sheep position since it is a weigh crate. So there's just 2 there, and that's basically running your entry doors. So the couple of the key things on this, this also does have the ability to build the EID reader right into the wall of a machine. The weigh crate area is actually suspended on load cells, which makes it much more accurate on uneven ground. It's a solid metal frame, so the whole structure of it is very sound. Doesn't matter what you're setting it on, really. And then the overhead cells, so it's a suspended crate. And then the entry gate itself is not part of that weigh platform. So unlike some other models that are out there, if the next sheep is pressing on those entry gates, it won't affect the weight from the animal inside. So that's a nice feature there, especially if you've got a very packed alleyway coming up to the chute. So again, this would with the T30 system, you could also do the multi-criteria sorting here, or with the more basic systems, you could just do by weight sorting. But both of these machines, if you're just strictly a weighing and sorting function, you can do up to 700 animals an hour, which there's not a whole lot of producers over here that would be using that type of capacity every day or every week. But it's just a interesting thing to consider that the capacity is there to do that kind of numbers, and would I'm sure get you thinking about your own operations and how much time you could save rather than manhandling the sheep as you may be doing currently. Let's go on to the next slide. This just goes over some of the features and to keep everybody engaged. I won't go over every single one. Probably the most important is the suspended weigh crate. That top left picture there, you can see the load cell and the suspended platform connected to it there. That also helps keep the load cells nice and clean and operational. Anything that has load cells underneath of it when you're sitting right there in the dirt, obviously it can have a big impact on the operating efficiency of the scale system over time. Things just get dirty and stuck. The low entry height, it's great for stock flow. And then there's entry and exit gates are split gates, so it's a very fast gate function. It's also got a feature built into it that if it does catch an animal in it, it will automatically release them before starting the weighing process. So whether the sheep is coming in and gets caught and doesn't get in fully in the crate, it will open back up, kind of jump back and forth and encourage the sheep to go forward. And also if it catches the sheep behind it, it will open briefly, just a split second, and allow that sheep to pull its head back out before starting the weighing process to avoid any interference. This one, of course, would come with a remote control as well. The scale mount is adjustable. The controls for the machine are across the top there, as you see in that bottom picture. That's the sorting gates and entry and exit gates. And then the scale head itself can be rotated either way, so you can be viewing it from either side of the machine. Everything's a pneumatic operation. I should mention both of these machines do require a small amount of electrical power to turn on the switches and things like that, but they come with a direct power connection, or you can run them on a 12-volt battery. They don't take a lot of juice. So, you know, ATV or a tractor battery can run one of these things no problem for the day. This also has the rubber flooring throughout. So that's probably enough for that one. Yep, here's a video on that, if we can do that the same way as we did in that last one, Dwayne. All right, thank you for that, Dwayne. If anybody wasn't able to view that for any reason, sometimes the streaming on these things isn't all that great. A lot of these videos are on our website now, so tepari.com, and most of these tutorial videos and promotional videos are on there as well for your own interest. Let me see here, just a few more pages and we're done. So yes, just the next, yep, there we go. So this just touches on the different trailer systems available for both of the units. So the top one for the DR3 model, that's almost kind of like a boat trailer, if you will. You hook the machine onto there, use a little crank mechanism on the front to bring the top up, put a support bar underneath, and off you go. The trailer system for the handler is a bit different. In that case, the handler is actually mounted right to the trailer frame, and it doesn't ever get removed from the trailer frame. So that gives it its rigidity for the different types of ground that you'd be placing it on. It comes with the fold down working platform. And then the way it works is it's got a hydraulic foot. There's a hydraulic pump on the other side of it with a hand lever on there. You jack up the hydraulic foot, and then the tires and wheels are actually on little stub axles with suspension built into them, and you just unlash those stub axles, pull the wheels off, and lower the whole handler and trailer frame down to the ground, flip down the working platform, and you're off and going. The tongue slides back underneath the whole frame so that doesn't get in the way of the sheep coming out the front gate. So both of these systems are street legal and designed for the road. You do have to get a light system for that. There's various ones out there for towing that work great. But I personally have towed these things to various demos around the country, and roared down the highway at 75, 80 miles an hour with no trouble at all. So they're well fitted for any type of transport. Probably covers those, and I think that's pretty much it. I guess I'm sure you're all curious as to the pricing of them. There is one model too that we didn't cover, and that's the Racewell JR, which we didn't have the time to slip into the slide, but we just came out with that this year. And that's basically a stripped down version of the Handler series, where a lot of the costly electronics and sensors are taken out of it, and it's more of a manually operated clamping system and handling system. I mean, you still have the sorting gates on it and everything, but it's just a manually operated system rather than electronic. So just to give everyone a rough idea, those JRs would start in the neighborhood of $8,500, and they can go all the way up to, depending on the scale system and all the functionality and whether or not you have a trailer, all of that kind of thing. But they can go anywhere from that 8,500 number up to 25, 26 range. And then the auto sorter series, those start at roughly 10,000. And again, depending on, EID, scale systems, whatever you want, plus the trailer, you could be anywhere, from 10 to 15, 18 range. So that just kind of gives you all a very rough idea of what these machines will cost. Typically, we're finding a lot of interest in these days. Anyone, a smaller producer looking for help to mitigate the issues of trying to find reliable labor these days, up to the larger producers that are looking to make the weighing and handling a much quicker and safer process. So they have quite a broad range of appeal. We do have leasing options too, to spread out that cost over time. And then I'm certainly glad to take any questions anyone have at this time. I think my contact information is on the next slide. We've got our website, our toll-free number, and then, oh, sorry, my email address didn't make it on this version. But you can certainly reach out in the web chat on our website there. My email is Kurt, K-U-R-T, .Chelberg, and that's CHELLBERG @tapari.com. So we're based out of Minneapolis. That's where our warehouse is. All of the parts are stocked there. We've got several handlers stocked there at any given time, and certainly look forward to speaking with anyone that has any questions or seeing you all in the future.
Kurt, I will send out your information when we get this and post the videos. I'll send out the information for all the sponsors.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any questions do we have? You said you could use it for brake checking too?
Yes, that's right. The Handler series, we've had some customers use it for that, both using the side tilt function and also probably have some photos of it somewhere, but when that entry gate is closed, there's actually a nice little space there for, we had one technician actually sitting on that, she'd sit down with her ultrasound device and sit right on the platform and have access to the sheep there without tipping it out. So yes, that's certainly one feature that can be done, or one function that can be done with these.
Well, if there's no more questions, you'll stick around to the end if we have some after the next two presentations?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, well, I'll get set up for the next one. Next is going to be Ron Gibson. He's a producer from Copeland, and we're going to be showing some of his facilities there.
Okay, good to talk with everybody again today. And Dwayne, shut the volume off on this video. That happened to be last week, and 70-mile-an-hour winds that day and blowing a lot of stuff around, making a lot of noise. So we've kind of developed our sorting and loading facilities over time. I mean, a lot of what you'll see today is kind of taken a lifetime to build. We started with basically nothing and some 2x6s and some nails, and as you go, you try to find easier ways to do things. But there you can see a shot of our raceway with the scale right in the center. We can actually sort 3 ways here, but it's all manual. I love the idea of having some of that blue equipment sitting right there that could do that automatically. But our raceway will hold about 15 to 16 U's, and then we have a transition in behind that that will hold about that many. So you're holding a set ready to come on, and then we don't have a circle back there, but we do have kind of a bud box, a farmer bud box, and it didn't work at all when we built it. And then Dr. Allison was at our place one day, and she said, well, Ron, all you got to do is move the hinge from this side to the other side, and you have a bud box. And you know what? It made a lot of difference on how those sheep flowed through that facility. So sometimes it doesn't take much to get something to work. But we have that raceway, and then the scale. We have a spindle there that we can put our scale head on, and then we're using the Sherwell reader to scan. So it's still pretty old school there as far as the way it's reading, and but we have power to that, and we can run use through that. We vaccinate in that lane. If we have to put an ear tag in, we generally try to catch them in that scale. So notice the sides are solid on that. That seems like they flow a lot better if that's all solid. And our scale platform is not like it needs to be. It's on concrete there, but we have to clean that thing fairly often because it's actually hanging under the raceway. I basically took a torch and just cut that raceway out and slipped that scale in, and we can pull that out. Right there to the left, that's our sonogram chute. It's not put together, but when we use that, we stick it on the end of that raceway, and it had ramps going up to it and coming out of it. And it's elevated, which the technicians like. That way they don't have to bend over too much. And it has a slide. You can't really see it from there, but there's a slide gate on the side that actually holds that you can open up and expose most of the U that you're scanning. And then if you'll see that triangle piece of a pyramid in the floor of that actually keeps the legs apart. So some technicians like to come in from the back so that you can get a good access to the probe, and some like to come in from the side. But regardless, you want that probe in the flank area, the bare part of the flank, and to get a good angle on them. And then we have a little bit of a squeeze there too. We've got a little bit of like there's a handle on top of that actually will keep the sheep from backing up, kind of locks them in, and that's adjustable that we can change. So we've kind of farmered and Mickey Mouse that thing to where it does work pretty good. We can do about 100 an hour through that scanning. So that's just checking for pregnant or not. That's not counting fetuses. So yeah, that's a lot of our facility is tall. I mean, we built it for use. If we ever did run cattle, we had it. Let's go back to that old chute, Dwayne, the load and chute. So that's something that I've been trying to get built. That's the original chute we started with. We even loaded some pigs with that thing in the day, and we're going to build a different one. We're going to do it different. That's just a single load with tapered sides, and we're going to make that into 2 compartment, a narrow side to load fat lambs, and then a wide side to unload or load like even pregnant ewes that would be wide enough to go down. So probably about 15 to 16 inches on the narrow side to handle fat lambs and feeders, and then probably around 20 inches is what we'll build to handle pregnant ewes. And it is portable, although the tires you can see they're flat now, but we don't move it anymore. But it has that ability. So we'll just tie on our new one. We'll just tie it on to that little bit of raceway that's already there. So there's our nursery facilities for extra lambs that either triplets or that twins that maybe the mother won't raise or don't claim. We started out with those crates on sand. It was still good environment for the lambs, but it was hard to keep that dry in there. So the second year we used that, we actually poured a concrete floor that slopes to that gutter and drain. And then we have some of that black plastic material that we actually can cover. That trough is notched out, so we can cover that with those, so it's solid. And we just wash that down every other day or so, and that sure made a lot of difference on how clean we can keep the air mostly. We have plenty of lighting in there. We all have plenty of light plugs, although we don't ever use a heat lamp in there at all. We keep it about 55 degrees in the wintertime. And we have one big exhaust fan that I don't know if Dwayne has a picture of that we actually pull air out. Keep going. Yep, right there. We can see that exhaust fan. It's set up on, it's not a fancy controller, but it's set up on humidity and temperature. And so if the humidity gets too high, it comes on, but if it gets too cold in there, it shuts off. And then we have just a propane wall heater that we use to heat that. That little area is really, it's got about 6 inches of insulation in the walls and the ceiling. And we bring our air in from the attic, and then from the attic, it comes in from outside, so we can pull fresh air in that way. At the end of that, we have like our, what we call our kind of a vet area or sink area. We have a drain in the floor, and then our sink and refrigerator. I'm not sure we have a shot of that, but that's where we kind of keep our medicines and vaccines and clean up stuff. And that, I want to talk a little bit about that milking, the lactate milk machine. Let's back that back up one, Dwayne. So it's not really functional right there. It's cleaned up and ready to go again, but a lot of people use these, and that you just put the powder in the top and then water source, and you need electricity, and it actually, augers in and mixes water with and mixes it together. And then there's tubes that supply each one of those to each one of the pins. I think we have one that's somewhere, a picture that shows it set up, but that's really does a really nice job of taking care of those orphans with very little labor. We clean that bowl every day. But the rest of the machine typically doesn't get cleaned till we get done. And there's a shot of it where we were still on sand. That was the first year we had it. And you can see that kitchen area, we call it, or in the far end, we've got a little bit of storage there, and big deep sink and hose reel up there at the front. Okay, next one. There's the old school buckets. That was before we bought the lactate machine. Just a lot of labor in that system still, cleaning those buckets and maintaining nipples and all that. It works on a small number, but if you've got 100 or more, that it's not so good. This is what we'd call our drop pens and our lactating pens before they go to a bigger facility to go get ready to go to pasture. We have a loft in that building that we can put our straw up there, and you know, that one person can bed that building down in 15, 20 minutes. It's pretty easy. And waters in each, we'll divide that up into 4, even 8 groups. We can, if we're just low covered up with lots of lambs, we can divide that up. The biggest problem at lambing time inside is, in my opinion, is mix-ups, where you get too many ewes lambing together and you get nobody really knows whose baby's who. And so the more you can divide those up in a building, in a pen, then the less chances you have of mix-up. Because we don't check sheep at night anymore. We maybe take a check at 10 o'clock and then they get looked at 6:30, 7 the next morning. So just never lose enough lambs to matter. Sleep is a lot more important than 1 or 2 lambs you might lose because you weren't right there. There's those lactating pens and those concrete bunks you can eat off of both sides. Yeah, we get a few lambs in them, but when they need cleaned, we get them cleaned. And so when we feed those, we just basically the ewes and lambs go in the barn, close the gate, and run the feed out, and then open it back up so you get a chance to look at everything real close. This is a picture of that lambing, the jug system set up. So we had a row of pens along the wall, and then we're really lambing heavy, we'll set up what we call a B row, which that's the one to the next side, to the right side. The ewes, like I said in the earlier presentation, we don't, the less time you can leave those sheep in there, the better off you are. But so they stay in there about 12 hours. Triplets might stay a little longer, but then you have a transition then right back into the group pen, the grouping pen. We use a 4x6 lambing jug or lambing pen. A lot of variations that. Some use 5x4. 4x4 I've seen work, but a 4x4 typically they will feed those lambs in the alley. We like to keep our alley clear so we can move sheep one way to the other. There's the grandkids. This is probably the first vaccine that these lambs are getting, so we can let those ewes go out to the feed bunks and pretty well trap the lambs in, and then we can vaccinate. We've got a pretty good technique. It's really easy to sort those anymore, just with a gate and a couple panels. So those lambs will be getting their first vaccination. We do all of our ear tagging and banding in the jug, in the lambing pen. These lambs will get another shot in about 3 weeks from there, and then they'll be finished. There's a little more help with the feeding chores. We don't have water in those pens like automatic. Everything's fed, you know, we drag a hose down that alley. I want those lambs looked at often. We feed in the morning and night on those jugs, and that's just a good chance to get everything looked at, get a good start on those lambs. Those are some, we received some EQIP money to cross fence our irrigated pasture, and they, with that monies, you had to have a water source in all of those paddocks. And so that's our water source. Those pastures are anywhere from 4.5 acres down to like 3.5, and there's nine pastures, and including the lane would be 10. So we move those ewes about every 2 days. That doesn't have anything to do with the sheep, but that's a iron corosis soybean trial. I don't know how that got in there, but yeah, we don't need that. We grow a lot of soybeans, corn, and milo, wheat, diversified crops, livestock. Okay. I wished I had an aerial view of how our pastures laid out. It's a cool season fescue and white clover. We had 2 pastures, and then when we got the EQIP money, we actually divided that up into 9, but we fenced it with the sprinkler tracks so that we didn't have to build as many gates. And that's worked out pretty good. That's our granddaughter. She's looking at the sheep. You can see we use a lot of the Stay Tough fence, and we use those are actually 2 3/8 posts that they were driven with a jackhammer. We don't cement any of those. They're all driven. That's really good fence. It's I think it'll for sure outlast me. I don't know about the next generation, but it's been worth the investment. Okay. I guess it's just waiting on it to turn. This is a commodity shed. I mean, like I told you, it takes a lifetime to do some of this stuff, but this has really been nice. But I wouldn't recommend it for somebody starting out. It costs quite a little bit of money to do this, but concrete is just wonderful when you are handling feed and mixing feed. And if you have a feed you need to get out of the wagon, you can just dump it on the slab and mix something else, pick it up later. We have 3 bays in this. It's got the tall front so we can unload those big long dump semis. Most everything's coming in belt trailers anymore, chain trailers, so we don't actually need that taller front, but when you're piling stuff in there, we put dry distillers in there, whole corn. We've got some cracked corn over there on one side. Alfalfa, we'll have some alfalfa in there now on that middle bay. That's just really, we've got some concrete blocks on the side there, so if we have to dump something on there on the slab, we've got we can use that as a backstop and pick it back up. We load all of our feed with skid steer loader. We don't use any augers or anything that to load wagons. This is what we call our transition. So after the user lambed and they're lactating in that other barn, at about 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes a month, then we'll transition them into this facility. It's a dairy monoslope type of structure. We just love that thing. Its ventilation is excellent. It's enough protection in the wintertime, snowstorms. We can get a lot of sheep under it. We have creep feeders in there that we creep off, and we really like that structure. It's got a curtain on the north side that we can raise up and down, and then the gap in the top's what keeps the snow from piling up before and behind it. That just enough wind goes through there that it keeps all that snow from drifting. They're just pictures, some more insulation. Yeah, if you can see that electric, that white insulator, I think the other picture behind Dwayne would be a better one to look at. Maybe go back. But that's electric wire on the back side of the feed bunk. And that is the best thing I've found to keep lambs and ewes, everything from getting in your feed alley. That's a ram pin. We use that on all of our bunk lines. It's just electric fence wire with some insulators, and it works really good and if lambs get in the bunk, they they're curious, so they reach over there and they sniff that wire and they get hit, and then they jump right back in the pen. So we haven't ever built neck rails, just used that electric wire, and it's served us well. Okay.
So did you make the cement bunks yourself, or did you buy them somewhere?
So producer and I, Kurt Simon at Quinter, and we built the first prototype out of just some plastic and some angle iron. And I built it up and took it up to Kurt's, and he tried it a while, and then we made a few changes and shortened it on the front, raised it on the back. And then once we thought we had it pretty close to right, we took it to a concrete plant that actually did bunks, and they built a jig. And the jigs were actually built in Quinter by a fabrication place there. And then those have been passed around. There's different concrete plant has those now, but so we designed them. We've actually made some changes. Those double-sided bunks, what we call a pasture bunk that we use in the lactating area, are the same height on both sides, but you can use the same form. You just put a filler block in there, and you don't pour the one leg completely up. So they're no, we've had those built, but we were pretty well. Kurt and I did the original prototype.
So do we have any questions for Ron? I guess seeing no questions, we're gonna slip over to Stephen Simon. We'll be talking, and we'll get this set up here in a second. Hang on. Again, when I took this video, it was the 2 days that I was at the Ron and Stephen Kurt's house. It was the windiest that it had been basically the whole winter. So I've got the videos off, or the sound off, so you won't be able to hear all the wind whistling. Okay, Stephen, whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me, Dwayne?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hey, everybody. I have not quite seen the video yet, but I can kind of probably walk you through everything that Dwayne shows you here. That was just kind of a latch on one of our gates, kind of shows the little slip knot kind of for the chain in there so that the sheep can't nibble at it and get it open very easily. This is actually in our working facility. He's turning around here and looking at the basically the entryway to our scale area. Every pen on the farm leads to this building, and everything comes down this alleyway basically. And you can kind of see as Dwayne maybe gets up there. We also do our shearing in this barn. You can see some of our wool bags over there to the side and our wool sacker, kind of keep it pinned off while we're not using it. Right there, you can kind of see a gate to your left-hand side that kind of walks through the solid panel. They do have springs on them, so they spring back shut. The whole alleyway narrows up the further and further that you basically bring the sheep up toward the scale. That scale up there is just a two-way sort. It's an old pig scale, actually, we've had for years and years. And we can sort either to the inside of the barn, or they can take the alleyway, and the door is shut right now at the moment in this picture, but they can go right through that door on the end there and go on outside. Right there to the right, I think we have a little bit of video here in a bit. It's kind of our little vaccination area. They can see with the wood posts over there to the right. It basically, when you have ewes and babies, it's an area that we can run lambs into with the ewes and be able to easily reach down in there and grab the lambs and work tails and do whatever it is that we're doing at vaccination. There's our really old wool sacker. It's been around. My grandpa actually bought that, I think back in the 50s. Still works pretty good, actually. We had a few sheep in. We brought in just for a little bit of a demo the other day. You can kind of see as they approach the scale. I can open the one end and they'll run in, and then I can basically swing my gate and decide which way I'd like them to go depending on what I'm doing there. I can run through, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 ewes in a couple hours probably, if I'm just bagging or doing something simple. If I'm weighing lambs, I can probably do about 500 lambs in, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half maybe. Depends how well they flow. Also right there, you can see it's pretty open. I can actually pull their head out to the side and I can do ear tags, check teeth, anything else that I need to do. Sometimes we'll pull their head out to drench them and do other things there. I do have a digital scale head. It's not on that unit at the moment. There you can see that we set up that vaccination unit over there to the left-hand side, where you can see that now everything goes in and can be ran into there. And that's usually where we run ewes and babies, like I said a little bit ago, to easily access them and pull them out of there for working. The configuration's kind of changed over time. Like Ron, we've got everything solid panel. Everything flows a lot better when everything is a solid panel, it seems like. There's a shot of my hoop barn. We are getting ready for lambing, so we've got 2 rows of lambing pins going down the center of it, and with the pins on the outside of that where the ewes will be lambing and dropping their lambs, and then we bring them into the center there, and they'll stay in those lambing jugs for a few days, and then they will take that center alleyway and they will go down further to a group pen on the far end of the barn. Let's see here. Those are just 4x4 pins. The back panel that we used on it is actually a little bit taller. Sometimes when the straw builds up after bedding those pins for a while, the sheep like to try to jump out of those pins when it gets a little bit short for them. So we use a taller panel at the back so they don't at least jump into the pen with all the other sheep. We do run an all wool flock, as you can tell there, for the most part. That's a 50-foot wide building by 240 foot. I can get about 360 ewes and babies in there pretty comfortably, spread out. And all my bunk lines are along the outside of the hoop barn, where our mixing wagon goes up and down, and able to feed all those inside that barn there. When it's snowing and blowing, it's really nice. There you can see some of those panels are shut over there on the side. So we can run the mixer down, feed, and then walk along and swing those side panels shut, basically, and everything shut inside. Stays nice and dry for all the babies. Keeps the health of the flock up, I think, a lot, keeping them inside those hoop barns. Helps a lot with baby lamb pneumonia. Don't get near as much. I mean, you can definitely get a temperature fluctuation, but they just don't get wet and whatnot. Those right there are a picture of my new lambing pens that I've designed. I've kind of looked at Seidel and Ketchum and half a dozen different manufacturers, and went to some local welding guys, and we've kind of designed our own pens, and those are the first set of 5 that we've built so far. I've got an order in for another 45 of them, They're very slick. The whole panel opens in the front. Got a solid front panel to keep the straw from working its way out. The day that Dwayne was actually there, a little bit of that side clip there that was showing was we were actually looking at those lambing pins because we're designing them to hold a water tube so that we can put a water tube through the back side of them. You see that water tube right there? We were actually putting it in there, and we ran a U in there just to kind of see the height and see what we were thinking as far as tube size and everything. We think that the water tubes, they use them up in Minnesota a lot, in a lot of their hoop buildings and whatnot. It really saves a lot of time as far as watering when you have a lot of lambing jugs. We set up approximately 200 lambing jugs every year when we go to lamb everything out. Right there, as Ron was speaking, that was our concrete bunk form. We actually built a new one, a little bit different design than what you saw over there at Ron's place. This one's very similar as far as the back being a little bit taller and the front being a little bit shorter. But what we did is we kind of lowered it down a little bit closer to the ground. The other bunks seemed like ewe lambs were having a tough time reaching the bottom of it. So we kind of shortened them up a little bit and just did a little bit of redesign. But so far they seem like they're working pretty good. One of the, they're actually pouring a couple of them. They happened to be doing that when Dwayne was there. The one interesting thing that I've liked about them so far is I've set them up and I sat them in a pen, and I've had a number of ewes actually jump into them, and as soon as they jump into them, they fall over. I think the roundness of the slope is just enough that it makes them very unstable, and they actually don't like to actually get in those bunks. So they were in there, the first group that I tried, they were in there. A couple of them jumped in the first day, and I don't think I've had a ewe in the bunk since. You'll see when I'm feeding in the morning, they'll definitely shove a few of them into the bunk and they'll fall over and they'll work their way out of it. But for the most part, I really like the new kind of slope and design of that bunk. That right there actually shows my lambing facility. That's what my grandpa put in years and years ago. We're actually getting ready to this summer build a new lambing barn over top of that whole area right there that was showing. Right there, what Dwayne's showing is the side of the hoop barn where the panel flips open and just got a chain that basically allows the panel to only go open so far. Then it's kind of got a little rubber thing to keep the feed and everything going straight down. That looks like another bunk out on a different hoop barn of mine. It was made out of a 4-foot sheet of plastic, and you can see that plastic over time it actually cracks a little bit. I think the sun and the weather has a little bit of wear and tear on it. The side of the building actually raises open with a 12-volt battery and a ATV winch actually. Those great big panels will raise up, and then I can just drive along the side of the building and feed inside those bunks there. That's an inside shot of that building and shows that we just use 2x6s basically for the rail, and kind of see the inside of the bunk there. Might not have caught it there, but you can kind of see there was a waterer there in the ground. Pretty good water. I'm trying to think. I actually can't think off the top of my head who makes that one, but it's a pretty simple one. It's no power or anything's required to keep it thawed, all geothermal. Those are some of just our old metal bunks from, oh man, I remember those when I was a kid, probably 30 years ago, and they've been rewelded over the years and remade, but we still use some of those from time to time. That's another little different style we had for a few years in a few different pens. Bunks don't have to be too fancy. You can get away with lots of different things. I've seen PVC pipe to metal, like you've seen there, to good solid concrete. The only thing I'll say is the concrete ones, they definitely last. And with sheep, it doesn't seem like they really break down or have any wear and tear or anything to that matter. So I would really highly recommend, if you're going to put the money into it, probably get concrete bunks if all possible. I guess that's all I got, Dwayne. That's a quick walkthrough of what you had there.
I think, weren't they the Corbett waters?
Yes. Cobbett. That's the name. Cobbett. They're pretty simple. They just raise up and you can pull them up out of there, and it's about a 5-gallon bucket worth, and you can just dump them out, scrub them up a little bit and dump it out a little bit, and you just have to carry one bucket out of the barn, and pretty simple to use. Not too bad. You can kind of see in that last shot there's Johnson waters. Those are concrete waters. Actually, they are probably my favorite water. Those as well, they start overflowing when it hits a certain temperature, so there's no power ran to it, so there's no electricity needed. I very, very, very rarely have to work on those waters. I just do not have many problems with them. They down to the negative temperatures and whatnot, it seems like they stay flowing, and I rarely have any issues with the solid Johnson waters out of Nebraska. Been pretty happy with those. They are a little bit pricey, but with no maintenance and no power fees to them and whatnot, is definitely worth putting those in.
So do we have any questions for Stephen? Okay, well, any questions for Ron, Stephen, or Kurt? If not, we're going to take about a 5-minute break this time. We'll plan on getting started about 2:20. And next item up is pregnancy scanning with Dr. Becky Leggett and Dr. Allison Crane. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes.